Hey guys, Ninja here, and I'm going to do a quick discussion on Scout Chopper loadouts. In general, there's really only two loadouts you should ever be using, and one of those has a very specific purpose, and typically won't be running that one, I think. The main loadout that 99% of pilots should be using is the 25mm cannons, heat seekers, ECM, and gyro. The 25mm cannons are good because they shred infantry. 3 or 4 shots doing pretty much anyone will kill them. They have a significant amount of splash damage, so you really don't need good aim to be using them. They also do a decent amount of damage to light and medium armor vehicles, so that's pretty much everything. The only downside I would say to the 25mm cannons is that they don't do significant damage against other choppers, but that's why we're running the heat seekers. So the heat seekers are just your typical air-to-air missiles, no effect on ground vehicles whatsoever, but you pretty much have to be running heat seekers if you're running 25mm cannons, because it's really going to be the only way you're taking out enemy choppers. ECM, there's some debate, I think, amongst pilots, or some pilots anyway, against whether to be using flares or ECM. I don't think anyone runs fire extinguisher anymore. But I would argue that ECM is by far the best of all of these. Whenever you use ECM, you have about 5 seconds of time where you can't be locked. And that is pretty ridiculous, honestly. That's a long time to get to safety. In general, you're going to hit ECM, and the moment you hit ECM, you should be running to the nearest safe spot to hide up and let your countermeasures come back. Really, the flares, they don't do that. The flares, you have maybe 1 to 2 seconds of non-lockable time, and then I think a little bit shorter cooldown, but the 5 seconds you get on ECM it's ridiculous, and you just can't beat that. So I always run ECM. Gyro, you have to run gyro, honestly. I see a lot of people running stealth coding, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone running any of this other stuff, but gyro, what happens is, anytime you get a mobility hit, you're not going to spin out. So normally if you don't have gyro on and you get a mobility hit, your chopper just spins uncontrollably, and at least half the time that's probably going to result in you crashing. Or at the very least, you're not going to be able to get away from whatever's locking you, and you're just going to get hit again. If you have the gyro on, your chopper will remain stable, so it's not going to be spinning at all. And that at least allows you some chance to put yourself in the direction that you want to go, or avoid hitting whatever imminent disaster is about to happen. So gyro is really, it's just critical in my opinion. You can't run without it. Stealth coding, the argument that could be made there is that stealth coding increases the time it takes for people to lock onto you. Some people argue that that allows you to not get hit as often, but in reality, it only does like a 30% increase in lock time, I think, and it's so insignificant, honestly, that it's really barely noticeable. So I always run gyro. I think everyone should be running gyro. Now, the second loadout I was talking about is, instead of using the 25mm cannons, you're using the miniguns, and along with laser guided. So the miniguns, they have no splash damage. Okay. So it's really hard to kill infantry, honestly, because it requires some pretty significant accuracy to be able to hit these guys from any distance. And the one advantage to miniguns is that they shred light armor vehicles, including other scout choppers. So I only run this loadout if I have another scout chopper that's giving me a lot of problems. So the reason you run laser guided with the miniguns is because the miniguns don't really do any damage against medium armor vehicles. So if you're running the miniguns, you're kind of at a disadvantage in terms of killing enemy ground vehicles. So you'll need a laser guided to be able to do anything to those. The laser guided is basically just a javelin missile. It just requires a short lock on and fire, and you need to hold the lock through once you've locked on. I'm pretty sure you can also use it towards laser lock targets without a lock on, but in general, it's pretty significant damage, really. It'll allow you to take out most things from a pretty good distance. But yeah, the miniguns, really only very good pilots should be using these, and only for the specific purpose of taking out enemy choppers. For the most part, I think the 25mm cannons and heat seekers are going to be more than enough to take out most pilots. But if you are having problems, you might consider switching over to the miniguns. So that's pretty much it. This is the loadout that everyone, I think, should be using 99% of the time. It's certainly the one that I run almost all the time. And good luck flying, guys. I'll be putting out more scout chopper tutorial videos here pretty soon. And just keep an eye out for them.